So what about a perfect day in the life of Hikaru when you're not doing
Oh, a perfect day. A perfect day would be something along the lines of I get up very early, at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, drive an hour
wait.
away,
Oh,
and go climb mountains. That's the perfect day. Out
okay.
into the
Sorry.
mountains.
So,
Oh, do you mean a normal non?
yeah, perfectly productive normal day.
Oh, perfectly productive. Okay, so perfectly productive would be along the lines of I wake up at like 7:30 to 8 o'clock. Probably I watch either Bloomberg or CNBC for 30 minutes to an hour, and then watch the markets for maybe an hour or two, look at certain things that are
So you
going
really care
on.
about investing?
I do follow it quite closely. Yeah, I follow the markets very closely, closer than I should. But yes,
For personal reasons, or do you comment on it? Like, like for personal investing reasons, or for like philosophical understanding what's going on in the world reasons?
it's sort of everything. I think first of all, obviously, I'm interested in investing. I have been for many years. I've done investing trading for at least a decade now. So like I am very interested on that level. I'm also quite interested as well because when you see the policy that's being dictated, like you look in the last 6 months specifically, you see the Fed policy around things like interest rates, unemployment, things of this nature. It is something that interests me also because I do invest in real estate aside from the stock market. So therefore, I'm always keeping an eye on these sorts of things and always looking. And as a better example, like I'm looking for trends. So if we go back to I think it was 20, I could have the year wrong. It was 2015 or 2016. There was a pattern that I found that on the Fed minutes that came out, I believe 2:15. I think it's on the Wednesday of third Wednesday of every month. That the gold ETFs and ETNs would actually go up. Not every single Wednesday of the month that the minutes came out. So I would follow things like that. Now, of course, I wasn't like trading huge volume, but I found a trend there. Of course, it stopped working at a certain point. But those are the sorts of things that they just interest me, even if it's not something that I'm doing to make a living. Trying to spot those trends, it's always been something that has fascinated me.
One Reddit said that you shorted Tesla some time ago. Do you regret doing so?
Well, when I did those plays, that was small amounts of money, and that was only via puts. That was where I would buy puts or put spreads on it. So it wasn't something where I was straight shorting. I would never actually do that because it's not worth the risk, and I don't want to ever be in a situation where I have to think about those sorts of things. And I think a better example is there was a period in 2016, actually, shortly before the candidates, when I actually was in oil. I had a long position in oil, and this is when oil completely crashed. It went I don't think it went below, did it go below 30 even? It went very low. And of course, the Saudis were not cutting, they were not, I think they were, were they cutting or not cutting production? But anyway, there was a period in 2016 when I had a big long position in one of the 3X oil ETFs. And it kept going down day after day after day. And then, of course, right near the bottom, I finally couldn't take it anymore. I took a loss. And that really it was very difficult dealing with that, the stress every day seeing those losses. And after that, I kind of decided I would never put myself in such a situation again. And so that's why like I don't do shorting. And then separately, and I think I posted a reply to this comment, but in 2021, as Tesla started going up, I actually started selling puts. And I did quite well off of that. So it's sort of play both sides, never like become hard set with your conviction, like where you refuse, like this is just like it has to go down or like it has to go up. Just sure you have to be willing to adapt.
Do you think shorting should be legal? Do you think it's ethical? Like to me, I don't know much about investing, but I feel like it feels wrong. Now I know if something is overinflated, it's good for there to be an opposing force to like balance it or something like that.
Right.
But it just feels like in our current modern internet world, I think Tesla, I vaguely saw somewhere that's like the most shorted stock like ever. And so that incentivizes a lot of the publication of misinformation about it. Like it just feels like the incentives are wrong, not when we look at the markets, but at the future of human civilization perspective. It just feels like shorting is somehow wrong. But maybe I'm misunderstanding the broader picture of markets.
Well, I actually try not to do that. I almost only take long positions specifically because I feel like you're betting like on the world collapsing. I feel like morally I don't want to be in that.
Yeah.
That I don't want to have that viewpoint. I think that sort of is another thing that I've noticed. Like I've been very lucky. I've traveled a lot. I've met a lot of famous people, and the one thing that I've noticed is like a lot of the people who are the most successful, they're the ones who are very optimistic. No matter what is happening day to day, they remain very optimistic about the future of where things are going. So I try not to end up in that situation. I think as far as like shorting specifically, the real danger to me is that anybody can now invest. And I feel like actually some of these apps like Robinhood, they go out of their way to try and make it seem like it's this fun game. Like I've seen people where you place a trade and it gives you like these stickers or these pop-ups like of confetti, and it's like, wait a second, what's going on here with the whole game? Like people are they're going after the wrong thing. So I don't think shorting will be banned, but I think it's very dangerous that everybody has access to being able to do things like that.
So according to Reddit on the topic of Tesla, you have trouble admitting when you make a mistake. Is that true?
No, that's generally not true. Actually, I think that
Wait, Reddit is not 100% accurate and truthful in its representation of a character? That's fascinating.
No, I think the thing that I've learned is I'm obviously very good at chess, but that doesn't automatically mean that I'm a genius in everything else. And I feel like that's another thing actually that I really, really admire about Magnus is that he is the world champion, he's the best player, but he does not automatically believe that translates to every area of life. I feel like with some other world champions, they think that they're great no matter what they do. And that's not like intentionally trying to be rude, but I do feel like there's certain people who feel like that. Like anything they say is right and they are the authority. When in reality, like we are the authorities when it comes to chess. Like we know chess the best, we are the experts, but that doesn't automatically mean we're geniuses in everything else.
That said, I think you said somewhere, it could have been on the C Squared podcast, that I forget if it's chess or streaming that taught you to generalize to various, like you feel like you're able to do other things now. Was that streaming?
I don't know if that's specifically streaming, but I think streaming has taught me a lot about sort of life and also how to run a business, honestly. Like I have read a lot of business books, and one of the things with streaming is that when you start out, it's like this very small thing. It's just you, maybe you have a couple of people who help you along the way. But as it becomes bigger and bigger, if there's a boom, you suddenly start having to hire employees. You're basically running this business. And like for me, I've learned a lot about that because there was this book that I read some years back. I think it was by Mary Buffett. It was on Warren Buffett and how like he tries to be hands off. Like when he buys these companies, it's hands off. Management stays the same. You don't do anything. And I try to do things kind of the same way where like I try to be hands off. There are a couple of people around me. I leave a lot of the general day-to-day decisions up to them. And then like things that are really important, obviously I'm involved in, but I try to do things like that. So streaming is, you learn a lot along the way. And I think now having done that, there probably are several other potential careers that I could have if I really wanted to.